Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, Skip, how you doing? You better be glad you didn't bet no do.
You didn't have the guts to face me today? You got to go somewhere else?
Hold on.
You're
Skip,
hiding?
I took Milwaukee. You took the Suns.
Oh, I did. And you know what? We just heard the all-time greatest theme song in the history of sports shows called No Mercy, which was created and recorded by our man Lil Wayne. I'm about to have no mercy on the Phoenix Suns for what they did and didn't do last night. Thank you very much.
I'm about to join in with you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about today. Let's get to it. The Bucks evened the NBA Finals at 2 games apiece after a wild comeback last night. Phoenix led by 9 in the fourth quarter, but saw the lead vanish thanks to Chris Middleton's clutch scoring and some big-time defense from Giannis. Devin Booker did drop a game-high 42 points for the Suns, but his foul trouble and Chris Paul's turnovers left the door open enough for the Bucks to get a 109-103 win. So, Shannon, did the Bucks win it, or did the Suns blow this one?
The Suns blew this game. It was right there for them on a silver platter. And right on cue, Skip, if you go back and look at Game 3, look how Milwaukee dominated the paint. And what did they come out and do in Game 4? Jack up 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. Giannis basically airballs 2 free throws and comes back down on the following 2 possessions and shoot 2 airball threes. I'm like, okay, this is right on the Suns. They're playing right into your hands. They're going to go back to think they're a great three-point shooting team, get away from Giannis being aggressive, get away from dominating the paint, and then all of a sudden, Chris Paul, you know what? Was that Scott Foster playing impersonating Chris Paul?
I don't know.
Because for the longest time, we made excuses when they lost and Chris Paul played bad. It was Scott Foster. Scott Foster was nowhere near Milwaukee last night. And Chris Paul played awful. Call a spade, he gagged this game off. Skip, I want to make sure I get my notes right. The Suns shot 51% from the floor. The Bucks shot 40%. That's the 5th worst of a team shooting that worst in NBA Finals history and winning the game.
Yes.
In NBA Finals history.
Thank you. Yes.
And I said this opening night. I said, now the Milwaukee Bucks, the one thing they hang their hats on is rebounding. They out-rebounded Phoenix every single game. But the discrepancy is getting worse on the offensive end. It went from +3 to +7 to +7, and now it's +12. So when you turn the ball over 17 times, you get out-rebounded on the offensive end by 12. The other team shoots more free throws by 10. You're setting yourself up to lose this game. And Skip, I don't listen to the sound, but I like to listen to what the coaches say after the game.
Yep.
And Monty said, yeah, you know what we can do, the things that we can correct. How you gonna correct offensive rebounding? Grow? You're not gonna grow any taller? This is a reoccurring theme. This is 4 straight games that you said, guys, we got to get to the 50-50 ball. Guys, we got to keep them off the offensive glass. And game after game, it's getting worse and getting worse. And another thing, Monty, you need to go to DeAndre Ayton. As long as Giannis is in the ball game and you're not in foul trouble, you're going to have to play. Because the moment you take him out, you're so undermanned as far as size, they start pounding you on the offensive glass. Skip, did you know Pat Connaughton played less than 32 minutes? He had the 3rd most rebounds of anybody to take the floor last night.
Sure did.
Let that sink in. Pat Connaughton.
Yep.
So it's telling me they wanted more. The Suns think the ball is just going to just fall into my hands. Pat Connaughton says, I'm going to go get it. Bobby Portis says, I'm going to go get it. Now, we know Giannis is a rebounding phenom. But, Skip, this was prime setup for the Suns to take a commanding 3-1 lead. And Chris Paul and the Suns gagged this game off last night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, biggest picture, biggest takeaway. We do now have a series.
We got a series.
It feels like it's going to go 7.
Yes.
For all the wrong reasons. It is wildly exciting for all the most painful reasons. I'm exhausted. I couldn't sleep from having to watch that nightmare that the Suns experienced down the stretch of that game last night. They should have won it 15 different ways, and they lost by 6 because, to your point, to Monty's point, I tweeted it immediately when the game ended. If you're going to turn it over 17 times on the road and you're going to give up 17 offensive rebounds on the road, you're going to lose the game. But what is excruciating for me, and again, I've told you from the start, the Suns are just a little better than the Bucks, but you obviously have to play better than the Bucks. And last night, they had the Bucks dead to rights. Yep. They had them going to the fourth quarter. They were up 6. And right away, Cam Johnson hits a big 3, and they're up 9. So it's 11:42 left in the game, and you're up 9. Surely you can close that deal if you have the point god as your point guard, as in CP3, who is now 36 years of age. He's finishing year 16 in this league, but you would think just on experience, guts, guile, that CP3 could say, I got us. I will get us home. He don't got us. He can't get you home because Chris Paul somehow, shockingly, inexplicably, went from Game 6 against my Clippers, playing the greatest playoff game of his career by far, to last night on the road with the chance to go up 3-1 in the NBA Finals, to all but clinch winning an NBA Finals for the first time ever for the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. And wait a second, he played his worst playoff game ever? Because I think it is. Maybe there's one somewhere that I forgot about.
This is it.
But I think given the magnitude, given the circumstance,
I agree.
Given what was on a silver platter, Chris Paul was just completely out of it. And I agree. It's like Scott Foster was there, but he wasn't there. It's like Chris Paul suddenly actually turned into Cliff Paul, his quote-unquote brother, his twin brother that he plays in the State Farm commercials, who's kind of the nerdy one, the guy who can't play basketball. Or it's almost like Chris Paul disappeared like he does in the newest run of the State Farm commercials, where he turns into a basketball. It's like, I don't know who that guy was, because he had them. All he has to do basically is just take care of the basketball, and you're going to get home. Because, Shannon, the biggest takeaway from last night strategically was, while the NBA world was on the edge of its seat saying, Giannis is going to do it again. He's going to score 40 for the 3rd straight game, maybe the 4th straight game. What happened? DeAndre Ayton played him pretty well last night.
He did.
He bothered him. I told you yesterday, I think they just think Ayton is long enough and strong enough and athletic enough and committed enough that he can at least hold him to a low roar. And he did last night, because Giannis got a lot of bunnies. Does anybody get as many hustle bunnies as Giannis? He just hustles, and he just hustles, and we're going to talk about the block in a little bit, but it's like a hustle play where you hustle and you get a bunny, you get a putback, a lay-in, a dunk off a rebound. He just hustles and hustles, but he had to hustle his way to all of 26 points. And I give you, he gets his rebounds because he is a rebounding machine. He got his 14. But the point is, on a night that you thwarted him, you quote-unquote controlled him, you contained Giannis. And on a night that Drew Holiday shot 4 of 20 and 0 of 5 from 3, you would think, okay, the door is open. You don't even have to run through the door. How about just walk through the door? And I'm going to start with Chris Paul. He commits 2 turnovers in the 4th quarter, where every time he had the ball in his hands, I'm thinking, Shannon, like, are you going to be able to hold on to it? It's like he couldn't find the handle on the basketball. Who was that guy? And if we could see the first turnover, it's just a bad pass turnover with 3:44 left.
And that was a foul on Booker too, Skip.
Yeah. I agree. So here's just a bad pass. He just gets caught, and Giannis gets a hand on it. And the problem is they just get a run out. You know, they just get the run out to Giannis. Well, it's horrible because you're in a commanding position at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we get down to the wire, and Chris could have wiped the slate clean. He could have wiped away all their sins. In one play, it's with 32 seconds left. We can see what Chris did. He gets a switch onto Giannis, which I think he wanted, and then he actually palms the ball, if we could see it again, with his left hand. They get a run out, and Middleton gets a layup, which is just a killer at that point. This is the game. Chris Paul had the ball in his left hand, and he just palms it, runs with it, and palms it, and then he switches to his right hand, and unforced error, with nobody swatting at the ball, he just loses the ball. I don't know.
Yes.
He just loses the ball. This is it, man. This is 32 seconds. You're down 2. So if you can get the ball to Book, Devin Booker obviously had a hot hand. I said yesterday they were very concerned about Devin Booker coming out of game 2 because he had tweaked his hamstring, had tightness. They were scared to death that it was bothering him through game 3, which is why Monty Williams didn't play him down the stretch of the third quarter or any in the fourth quarter. But last night, he got his legs back under him. He wore that sleeve on the left hamstring, but Devin Booker had a great game. So you wasted that, and you might have had another shot late in the game if Chris Paul just hangs on to the basketball. And instead, you have 2 big turnovers by Chris that lead to runouts. Well, you're going to lose at Milwaukee because the crowd's going to go just
crazy, berserk.
And then, Shannon, I got to get this off my chest. As great as Book was last night, and, you know, he winds up, you know, it's a great game. He had 42 points, but what is he thinking? He's been around long enough to think better than this. If we could see the 5th foul that he committed with 10:50 left in the fourth quarter, this is often, you know, he's just trying to block out Tucker, and he just runs him, you know, he runs it.
You can't do that.
Hey, you can't do it. You got 4 fouls.
Right.
I know you're trying to screen him off and you're trying to save another offensive rebound, but Shannon, you're better than that. You're smarter. And you cost your team because now you cost yourself in the fourth quarter some precious minutes. You're going to have to go sit for 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, and it was crucial because I believe if he hadn't committed the 5th foul, that he could have played more than he did. He ended up, you know, well, he just had to sit for 5 minutes. And the point is, then we had the next play that he was involved in, which should have been a 6th foul with 3:41 left, if we could see that one. It's like an absolute butcher job. He just
he wrapped the guy up. Yes, he wraps the guy up.
He wrapped him up, and how can you miss this?
Look at this. He got his arm around him and everything. Arm on the left, his left arm is around him, and his right arm is around the guy's waist. Look at this. That's a foul.
What are you doing?
That's a foul.
And Capers, the crew chief, said after the game in a statement that I missed it because I thought he got all ball the first time through until I saw the replay and I realized that he was wrapping him up. Well, how could you think he got all ball?
Right.
It's not even close. And so the point was, with 3:41 left in the game, Devin Booker should have been gone. And if he had been gone as he should have been at that point, and by the way, Shannon, what is he thinking on that foul? He took like a take foul, like I've only got 2 fouls and I'm going to make him shoot the free throws kind of foul. Did he forget that he had 5?
I think he did forget. It's the same thing that we saw the other night, Skip, with DeAndre Ayton. Giannis got loose on a break, and he just give that one up. Just give it up. You're right, Skip. Chris Paul, and it seems Chris Paul was palming the ball because what does he always try to do, Skip? He always tries to get back to his dominant right hand and elevate. And so, for whatever reason, Skip, he hasn't been able to hold on to the ball. You talk about the turnovers in the fourth quarter. What about the turnovers at the start of the game when they was building a lead, when they had a 6-8 point lead, and Chris Paul was coming down and turning the ball over what could have been a 10 or a 12 point lead? Chris Paul was awful last night. There's no way around it. I don't want to hear nothing about the Skip. You talk about the game 6. What about the game 1 closeout, Chris, that we saw? Who was sensational?
He was sensational. I agree. And he did say after game 6 that he had been bothered by a partially torn ligament in the wrist of his shooting hand. Well, it didn't bother him in game 1, as you just pointed out, nor in game 6. And so I'm trying to give him a little break here or there, but I can't give him any injury break for this game. This was just bad basketball.
Yes.
I don't...
Skip. But he has his left wrist taped up.
Yeah, he does.
If it's his right wrist, why isn't your right wrist taped?
Okay.
But Skip, they've got to do something about these offensive rebounds. P.J. Tucker had 3. Coddington had 3. You look at Holiday had 3. Skip, you've got to keep their guards off the boards. Devin Booker, I'm looking at Devin Booker, Skip. Devin Booker had 1 rebound. Really, Book? I understand that you're a scorer, you've got to score, but you got to get me more than 1 rebound because Coddington came in and gave him 9.
He did. And by the way, Coddington can jump, but Shannon, to your point about offensive rebounds, I want to show one that occurred with 5:22 left in the game, and it cut the lead, the Phoenix lead, to 3, and it was a Coddington putback, like a little tip in, if we could see it.
Yes!
Right under Ayton's nose. And I don't know what Ayton is doing here. He just doesn't see him, doesn't try to lean in and shield him a little bit, screen him off a little bit. And Connaughton just cuts right to the basket and just puts it right back in. It was called a tip in, but he caught the ball and just laid it in off the glass right in Ayton's face. Well,
that wasn't the only time, Skip. You remember on the missed free throw, Brook Lopez got a tip in over Ayton.
It's horrible. That's just, again, that's desire to me. That's just guts, heart, whatever you want to call it. Like, I want this ball bad and worse than you do. And
I agree.
What are you doing? And yet and still, Giannis was actually still kind of coming apart late in the game because we had a couple of things go wrong there. Look at this. With 2:30 left, he commits the silliest foul. Giannis did. It's like he's trying to lose the game, too, at that point, off a rebound, a defensive rebound by Jay Crowder. He just reaches in, if we could see this, and just slaps him across the face. And I thought, Giannis, what are you doing? It's 2:30 left in the game, and he sent Crowder to the free throw line, and he made both of them to put Phoenix up 2. So it's like, Giannis, are you trying to give the game back? That each team was trying to, like, give it, I'll give it to you, and you give it back to me. And then if we could see one last thing with 14.7 seconds left, Giannis is so lucky that they led by 4 at this point and not 3 because if we could see Giannis, he tries to inbounds the ball. Here it is. And he doesn't quite get out of bounds. He's standing in bounds when he inbounds to Middleton. Are you believing that? And it's off the Booker, like, little breakaway layup. And Giannis, what are you doing? Giannis, you have to get both feet out of bounds. Well, they missed it. They didn't call it. But what if that had been a 3-point game and they missed that call?
Right.
So it's like one disaster after debacle, after disaster, after disappointment upon disappointment. And yet, when you step back and the smoke clears, Phoenix went on a 19-8 run to close the game. I'm sorry, Milwaukee went on a 19-8 run to close the game over the final 5:30. 19-8, so you're up 5 with 5:30 to go, and you just fell apart.
Yep, you did.
And
Skip, Monty Williams, the coach of the Suns, is going to have to do a better job.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand. If Giannis takes a break, take Ayton out. But, Skip, you can't have Ayton out and have Giannis in the game or Lopez in the game because, Skip, that's too much size.
Yeah.
You see, they get rebound after rebound after rebound. So even if you force a miss, Giannis is go crashing the boards. Brook Lopez is crashing the boards. So you might as well, if I'm Monty Williams, I'm going to DeAndre Ayton, and I'm talking to him on the plane ride back to Phoenix. I'm going to say, son, you're going to be 23 in 9 days. Be prepared to play 45, 46, 47 minutes.
Why not?
The next 3 games if we need it. We cannot have you playing 38 minutes when Giannis is playing 43, 44, 45 minutes. He can't come off because he's the only size that they have.
I completely concur. Now let's flip it around to the plus side for Milwaukee. I'll be the first to tell you, I've never been a big Chris Middleton guy because I can't. I try to put my arm around him, and I can't because he's the opposite of entertaining to me. He's just boring, but he's great boring. And I think he's becoming the most underrated player in the NBA just because he's off radar. And down the stretch last night, as they were going on their 19-8 run to end the game and win by 6, he scored 10 of those 19. Giannis scored 2 of those 19. So it was mostly Chris Middleton.
He's their closer.
He's their closer.
He's their closer. It's not even close. Because the thing is with him, he can shoot the 3. He got the mid-range game. He can take you off the dribble, and if you foul him, he goes to the free throw line because he was 4 for 4 in the fourth quarter.
He was.
He's their closer. Now he's not even close to being their best player as Giannis is. But I guarantee you ask a man to a man who they want to have the ball in the fourth quarter, late in the ball game. I guarantee you every last one of them's gonna say Chris Middleton because he was sensational down the stretch again. Now he's not the most efficient, but when you need to get a basket. Like Game 7 against the Nets, who did they turn to? When Giannis was out and they needed that big quarter, who did they turn to?
They did. So in the fourth quarter last night, Chris Middleton scored 14 points and basically took the game over. Giannis did score 7 and had he had the big block that we're about to talk about in just a minute here. But in the end, I got to give it up to Chris Middleton because that was a star caliber game. And he is a star. He's a 2-time All-Star, but he stars in the shadows. Last night, he starred in the spotlight.
They better be careful, Skip, because what have we seen? From games 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, Middleton gets better and better and better. Now, he's normally really quiet. If you look at all of his series, he was quiet against the Nets the first 2 games. He was quiet against Atlanta the first 2 games. He was very quiet these first 2 games. In each round, 3 through 7, he picks it up. Normally 4 through 6, he's been sensational. You better be on your best behavior, son. You got a game. You made it something that it should have never even been. You could have been a smoldering fire. Well, we just got to take it one game at a time. Now you've given them life. Because, Skip, remember in Game 2, they got 18 offensive rebounds. They got 17, and the gap is getting larger. It was like +3. It was +4. Now it's +7.
I agree. So my bottom line takeaway is I know that Chris Paul can be very, very hard on himself, and he was hard on himself in the post-game press conference.
Not hard enough.
I understand, but he's going to have a long 3 days, and he's going to wish that Game 5 was Friday night and not Saturday night back home.
Skip, and here's the thing, Skip. They're getting full rest.
Yeah, they're getting
48 hours between each game, so there's no excuse for Chris Paul to be tired.
No mercy.
Giannis's biggest contribution in last night's win came at the defensive end, with the Bucks clinging to a 2-point lead with just over a minute to play. The Greek Freak blocked a DeAndre Ayton alley-oop attempt that would have tied the game, and afterwards his teammate Pat Connaughton didn't mince words, saying, quote, "It's the best block of all time." Obviously, we're a little biased, and you could talk about the LeBron block as well, but as far as a block where he was covering the pick and roll, it's about as impressive as you can get. So, Shannon, I start with you. Please rate this block on a scale of 1 to 10.
I gave it a 10, Skip, because it was an unbelievable play. I believe Giannis, maybe Anthony Davis are the only 2 guys that could have made that play because of their length, because of their size. Because what he did, Skip, is that he showed, and he felt, and Booker felt his presence. So Booker's like, "Oh, hey, you all right here? Good. I'm just gonna throw this lob, and Ayton's gonna finish it." And Giannis backpedals, turns, and blocks it clean. At first, I thought, I was like, there's no way he blocked that clean and did not foul him. And it took him like 18 minutes to re-show it, Skip, because they wouldn't show. I'm like, show the block. I want to see the block. And when they showed it, he got it clean. Skip, that's as good a play under the circumstances as that you'll ever see from a defensive perspective. Because, like you said, that would have tied the game. Now, we're going to talk about a little later where it ranks as far as that play and LeBron's play. But you look at what he did. He forced Book to give it up. Very few big guys can do that. Make him give it up and then recover enough to block a 7-footer at the rim. He says, I'm going to meet you on the top floor, and then I'm going to press down and send you back to the floor. Skip, that was an unbelievable play. I gave him a 10. Given the circumstances in that ball game, that's a 10 play for me.
Here we go again. I was going to give this a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, but I'm going to go up to 4 just because it was, as you point out, so timely. You can say it was a clutch block, but just on pure execution, the way the play unfolded, it was a completely predictable and overrated block. It was so obvious it was going to happen that it was just one big duh. And it is being completely overrated because it starts with Devin Booker dribbling to his right, slowing up, locking eyes across the lane with Ayton, and throwing a lob too far and too high. It's not Devin Booker's forte to lob pass. It's more Chris Paul's, obviously. And this is a poorly thrown lob because it's not at the rim, it's beyond the rim, and it's way up too high on the glass. So we know what Giannis is. He is an explosive 6 feet, 11-inch leaper. And the one thing I love the most about Giannis is he hustles his butt off on every play. And as he said after the game, this was just a hustle play. Well, it was. It's like, how could he not have blocked this? Because he had every chance in the world to block it, because he had all the momentum. He got a running start on it. Ayton had to go way up on the glass, straight up on the glass, wait for the ball to come to its apex, to its high point. And Giannis got there right on time because Giannis had time to get there because it was so poorly thrown, the lob pass. So if he gets there right on time, what do you think is going to happen? Who can jump higher, Giannis or Ayton? I promise you Giannis can outjump DeAndre Ayton. So he got there with the running start. He got his hand completely up over the ball, and Ayton was just stuck. It's like, I catch the lob at its high point, and now I'm going to do what? The long arm of the law is already there. So I was not surprised by it. I was impressed only because it was a timely clutch block. I give you that. But on just pure execution, it's being ridiculously, historically overrated because how could he have not blocked it? Well, once he got his running start and got up there, it's like it's game over for DeAndre Ayton. He's got no other choice or chance. He's going to get the shot blocked unless he chooses to grab the ball with both hands and spin out of it and come all the way back down to the floor and then go back up on a Giannis who might by then have gone completely out of bounds under the basket. But at that point, he is dead to rights. So it's way overrated to me.
Let me tell you why I gave it a 10. Remember what happened last time? Giannis tried to block a lob dunk. He ended up missing the next 2 games because Capella flushed it on him, and he hyperextended his knee. And he threw caution to the wind. He said, the hell with that. What might happen, what did happen last time I did this. Skip, you have to also think about that. The last time he tried to block a lob dunk, he ended up missing the next 2 games. And he thought his season was over. And he threw caution to the wind. How many guys can make Devin Booker? Because Book had it going. If Giannis is not there, I get P.J. Tucker's on his hip. But if Giannis does not show, Devin Booker's going to elevate, and he's going to shoot that mid-range. It was because Giannis peeled, showed himself, and then was able to get back. Skip, I don't really know where else he could throw this ball because you have to understand where he had set the pick at. It wasn't like he had set the pick up under the basket. So he set the pick at the top of the key and roll at the free throw line and roll to the basket. That was a great play. If Giannis isn't there, it's a throwdown dunk, and we're not talking about it. But for him to show, make Book give the ball up, and was able to peel back and block this at the summit, that's got to be a 10. If that's not a 10 block, I don't know what is a 10 block other than Go James chase down.
it's a 10 because it was so predictable. Like he got there. What else was he going to do but block it?
Yeah,
it was the easiest block ever. It was a gimme.
If he didn't do what he had done, if he doesn't show to book, if he's not able to get back,
yeah, he played it correctly. Yeah, I give you that.
But Skip, also, you do realize the last time he did that, what happened to him when he tried to block a lob dunk?
Okay, the Capella play.
Yes.
He's awkwardly going backward. He comes down wrong. He's retreating. He's falling backwards, and he came down a little sideways on the knee, and it hyperextended. It got stuck underneath him. Well,
yes.
That's in retreat. This was going full force forward, where he's got a running start through about half the lane, and he can just go straight up under complete control. So there's no threat of falling awkwardly from this block because he's the one in control. All the momentum is Giannis. The momentum is not Ayton. It's all Giannis's momentum.
But, Skip, he has to pirouette. Think about it. He has to show, opens his hips, and turns. Now, he has to turn, and hopefully he's going to the right trajectory, going to the right point to meet Ayton. Look at this. Skip, that is a very athletic play. Like I said, I believe it's only him and AD that could have made this play because he shows, he pivots, opens, and meets Ayton at the summit.
Okay, but again, he sniffed it out because Book telegraphed it. He's just looking, and Giannis is like, well, I better go now because that's my man. I'm guarding Ayton. I'm not guarding Booker. You know, he showed a little bit, but not a lot. If Devin Booker had decided just to go up and shoot a, 8-foot jump shot, he would have gotten it off over Giannis. Giannis wasn't all over him. It wasn't like he was absolutely guarding him. He was showing just a touch. But once Booker telegraphs it by locking eyes across the lane with Ayton, he just spun and went. And again, he's an explosive athlete. We get that. But once he sniffed it out and guessed right, it's an easy block. It's like the biggest duh ever to me. And there was nothing dangerous about it at all.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. You're right. Book probably could have, but he was unwilling to chance it because he saw Giannis show. So that's why he didn't pull up. If Giannis is not there, he does exactly what you believe he's going to do. Pull up, shoot that 12-footer. But because Giannis showed, he wasn't willing to take the risk. He's like, well, why am I going to take a risk? And if Giannis is here, he had to pick and roll. Ayton is his guy, so Ayton's got to be wide open. And he was against everybody else other than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay. I'm going to show you something that happened in the bubble last year in the second round of the playoffs, executed by Kawhi Leonard. I'm going to show you a real man's dunk because do you remember this one? This is Kawhi Leonard at the rim with no momentum, having to go straight up on Jamal Murray, who has a running start on him. And Kawhi has to go face-to-face, man-to-man, guts-to-guts, and he blocked it with his wrong hand, his left hand, with the middle finger of his left hand, and completely rejected it. And this is game 3 of that Denver series, and it was 109-103 with about 4 minutes left in favor of the Clippers. So it was a fairly important block because it changed the momentum of the game.
The difference is Kawhi Leonard is 6'8.5", and Murray, 6'7".
6'7".
How tall is Murray? 6'3".
No, he's 6'5".
No, Murray's not no 6'5".
I think he is 6'5".
No, he's not that tall. But hold on. How tall is DeAndre Ayton? 7 foot.
Yeah, I'll give you, he's maybe an inch taller than Giannis is. But he can't out-jump Giannis.
But here's the thing, Skip. You can jump higher when you don't have the ball in your hand. That's why guys are able to elevate higher and catch lobs that people like, I don't know how he got it. That's why when they test vertical jump for basketball players, they don't have the ball in their hand because you can jump higher without the ball. So Ayton was able to elevate higher than he normally would had he was carrying the ball with him. That was a phenomenal play, Skip. Given the circumstances, you're only up by 2. This play is going to tie the game. And who knows what would have happened. Maybe that gives the Sun energy. But what it did, it energized the Bucks. That was a phenomenal play. And if they go on and win this series, I guarantee that'll be one of the highlight plays.
Well, it already is. I mean, people have proclaimed it the greatest block ever. And I'll give you this. It's certainly better than LeBron's chase down.
There you go.
LeBron had help. He had J.R. Smith to cut off Iguodala.
So let me ask you a question. If Giannis does not block this shot, is the series over?
I don't know. The way this game was going, it was like madness. I have no idea.
You and I both know if LeBron doesn't do that, this is over. This is a game 7.
Oh, you're talking about the LeBron game. Oh, I thought you meant the game last night. Oh.
Yeah, no. Even if the Bucks lose, there's a game 5.
Yeah, okay. No, I got that. But again, Giannis didn't have any help. He didn't have an assist on the block from one of his teammates.
Hold up. You just told me it was an easy block because Devin Booker telegraphed it from a mile away. So which is it? If he telegraphed it from a mile away, Giannis knew what was coming, so how difficult actually is it?
Okay, well, again, I'm going to give it a slightly higher grade than I did LeBron's because all LeBron did was just keep running, and all of a sudden Iguodala gets cut off at the pass by J.R. Smith, who makes him decide, oh, wait a second, I can't dunk this. I got to hesitate a second and try to go up and under and just lay it off the glass. And it gave LeBron time to catch up and reject it from the blind side. It was a sneak attack by LeBron. Well, at least this one was more of a face-to-face block.
Hey, we face-to-face. Hey, there's no way he could have got that over Gold James. Even if JR wasn't there, we was gonna meet him. We was gonna meet him at the summit.
Okay, but I think you just said nobody else was capable of this block last night. So you're also saying LeBron couldn't have pulled off that block last night.
No. I'm saying I believe in a situation like that because the likelihood of LeBron being down there, they're not going to put LeBron in the pick and roll because LeBron can guard. So what you try to do is that you try to put somebody in the pick and roll that you feel can't guard you in that situation. I believe AD. Would AD, and I believe AD because AD is a tremendous defensive player, great rim protector. I believe those are the only two guys. Now, I haven't seen footage. I'm sure if I go back and scroll far enough back, I can find a play where AD blocked the lob dunk. But I'm saying in a situation like this, Skip, this is game 4 of the NBA Finals, and what's at stake, and the way he was able to show and make Book give it up, and then peel around and turn and meet DeAndre Ayton at the summit, and then press down to say, you need to go on down? Nah, that's a 10 for me.
Well, congratulations. You overreacted like the rest of the world.
I ain't no overreaction. The reason I didn't tweet Skip because I thought he fouled him. And it took so long for them to replay it. I'm like, well, damn, is anybody going to show the replay what actually happened? Did he foul him?
I immediately tweeted, you can look at my timeline, overrated. It was a lob.
Don't worry, we will get back to it, guys. We are going to step away from the finals and talk about something a lot more serious right now, and the latest surrounding Richard Sherman. So free agent cornerback Sherman was arrested yesterday in Washington State after an incident at his wife's parents' residence. Sherman is facing charges of burglary, domestic violence, resisting arrest, and malicious mischief. The former 49er and Seahawk is being held without bail until he can appear before a judge later this afternoon. So this story is continuing to develop in front of us. Shannon, your immediate reaction to the news?
Well, it's disappointing. I haven't had an opportunity to reach out to Sherm, which I will do at some point in time this week. It seems to me, Skip, that maybe he had a little bit too much to drink. He got into a car accident. Maybe he bumped his head because the one thing that his wife said is that this is not the man that I know. He was not acting like himself. And so for me, it's really hard for me to speak on something like this without knowing more facts than what I already know. But this is what we do know. It seems to be alcohol was involved. It seems to be a situation where he had an accident in his car. His car was damaged, and maybe he set out on foot and he went to a situation and some people felt unsafe. And knowing the Richard Sherman that they know better than Shannon Sharpe is that he's acting strangely. This is not the guy we know. Let's get him some help. And the police showed up. It was cordial at first, and then things went sideways. It was reported that they had to bring the K9s out. He had a small laceration on his ankle. And so, Skip, I really don't know. It's just a bad look for Sherm. He is vice president of the Players Association. Yep. He's a stalwart in the NFL. He's been a model citizen. That's what I can say about Richard Sherman. He's been a model citizen. You might not like some of the antics. You might not like some of the things that he says, but there's a method to his madness, and he's been a great ambassador for the National Football League. And I'm disappointed that this has happened to him. But hopefully we'll get some understanding. We'll get better clarity to what transpired. But his wife did say no one was injured. The kids weren't injured. I wasn't injured. But like I said, this is out of character from the Richard Sherman that I know. Now, I don't know him as well as his family members, but they said this didn't seem like the man they knew. So if it doesn't seem like the man they knew, it damn sure isn't the man that I know.
Okay, so I hear and respect everything you just said about a Richard Sherman. I don't know. I did have, as most people know, a run-in with him on air long ago in my days at ESPN. I think it was, if memory serves, 2014. But I don't know Richard the way you know him. But I will give you what you said. He's been a model citizen as far as character goes, as far as off the field goes.
Yes.
I don't know anything else that's happened, except I did read carefully a very complex, deep piece written by the Seattle Times that ran today. And it did say that up in Seattle, the King County Sheriff's Office obtained an extreme risk protection order against Richard Sherman earlier this year to bar him from possessing firearms, according to court records. The petition was sealed by a Superior Court judge, so details are unknown. So that was the first indication that anything had happened previous to what happened 2 nights ago.
Right.
Okay, so now what do I know from the Seattle Times story that I didn't know? And these are all from the point of view of the police. This is what they've released so far.
Okay.
That a woman who identified herself as Sherman's wife called 911, King County Sheriff's Office, on Tuesday night, and told the dispatcher that Sherman had been drinking and had threatened to kill himself. So this is earlier that evening. And then the next thing we know is that 911 gets a call from a construction worker who reported that there had been a possibly impaired driver had driven into a closed construction zone on eastbound Highway 520 in a Seattle suburb and had done lots of damage to his car. And I'm assuming that was Richard because the plates registered to Richard Sherman. And the car was so damaged that it became a hit-and-run situation. Not that he hit and ran off of hitting a human. He just did a lot of damage to the construction site and obviously to his car. And he made it a short distance, and the car completely failed. It said one of the wheels came completely off the car, and the right side of the car was severely damaged. So we also know that in the first 911 call, the woman saying she was his wife warned that he was on his way to her parents' house. I don't know whether their children were at the parents' house. I'm not sure about that. But the next call comes from that house, and it was said to be burglary because he's just trying to knock the front door down, and he's doing heavy damage to the front door.
Right.
So all this fell under domestic violence because it was her parents' residence.
Right.
But there was no domestic violence per se involved because she said, as she said in a statement to the Seattle Times, I want everybody to know nobody got hurt.
Right.
Okay. So it wasn't your basic domestic violence. Nobody was threatened or hurt inside the home except that he was trying to knock the door down. Right. So now the police arrive off another 911 call from inside the house, the parents' house. And as you stated, the police actually decided to try to undercut it a little bit, to take a little of the urgency out of it by parking several blocks away and walking to the residence.
Correct.
And they engaged in conversation that they said was cordial with Richard I assume in the front yard. Correct. And they went back and forth, and it was all up and up, cordial, until they said, Mr.
Rich,
Sherman, we're sorry, but we have to take you in. And obviously, Richard did not love that. And whether he was impaired or not, we're not sure about his blood level because they did blood test him, and we'll get the results, I assume, later today when he has to go before the judge. But the point was that at that point, he decided, I don't want any part of this, and began to walk away, and then escalated, I guess, into sort of a trot or a run. And as you pointed out, they had to go canine. They let the dog go apprehend him. And the dog clamped down on Richard's lower leg and I guess bit in far enough that they had to take him to the hospital to get that wound treated. But the dog restrained him from moving any further. Right. And it also says in the story that another officer got involved trying to handcuff Richard and got hurt. I'm not sure how, but that he was injured. Right. So, again, we have resisting arrest as a possible charge, and we have the crash in the construction site as a possible charge. Nothing, we don't know yet where this is going to head. And then we have the attempted, quote-unquote, burglary, just trying to knock the front door down as a possible charge. So, don't know. We'll hear more this afternoon from the judge. Will he be charged? Will he be freed on bail? I assume he'd be free on bail for sure.
Correct. Yes.
But now, to your point, he is the vice president of the Players Association, but at 33, I think it's fair to say he's on the downside of his career. He's been a great player. He's got a potential to be a Hall of Famer. Is that fair to say? I haven't really thought hard about it, but I'd say he's got a chance. And yet, I thought he had a chance to hook on one more time with one more team. It sounded like the Seahawks were not interested. Obviously, he had been publicly opposed to some extent to the current quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm not sure how that would have played in the locker room. So maybe they were a little hesitant to go there now with Richard. Is it a chance that Kyle Shanahan would have brought him back for one last hurrah in San Francisco? Maybe. And I was already pushing, as you know, Shannon. I thought he'd be a good fit with my Dallas Cowboys.
Correct.
And I'm sure there are jokes out there now as we speak that he'd be a great fit now that he's got some police blotter, right? Because that's what Cowboys do. But the point was, Dan Quinn was his coach in Seattle.
Yes.
Cowboys have a young secondary, and I thought Richard could be, a player coach. He'd be great in the meetings, and I think he could have helped them to a certain extent on the field. I don't have any idea whether they were ready to go in that direction or not. But now all of that is put on hold at the worst possible time for Richard because now we have to see what the NFL sorts out.
Right.
Is he going to be disciplined for any or all of this? I don't know, but it's got potential that he's going to be disciplined, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does, Skip. And when the potential of alcohol is involved and emotions are high, logic is low. I think if logic should have said that Richard should have behaved in a manner. And sometimes, Skip, you know how it gets. When people are trying to talk to you and the potential of alcohol is involved, you're not trying to hear what anybody has to say. You're not logical. You're not thinking clearly. So clearly for me, for him to be involved in a situation like this, for his wife to call and to send out a sign of distress that he's threatened to kill himself. There are some things that, and that's what, a lot of you hear a lot of these like mental health experts. When calls like this come out, mental health experts need to be with the police officers because they're not trained to handle people that are suicidal. Yeah. Or the caller has said he's threatened to harm himself. Yeah. So you need to get someone with them that's trained in that field to talk to a Richard Sherman. Not saying the police shouldn't be involved, but the police should not be the first to engage said individual. I just hope this thing, I don't know where it goes from here, Skip. I hope we have a great ending. It could have been worse because we've seen situations where the police says, stop, do this, and it ends and it goes in a terrible, terrible direction.
Yes.
Fortunately for Richard Sherman, it did not go in that direction. So hopefully he gets to go before the judge today. Yeah. He'll probably get a bond. He's probably going to have to stay away. I think there's going to be a restraining order in place where he's not going to be able to have contact with the wife, the kids, or the family. And so hopefully Richard can get this thing resolved and move past this. But it's a very unfortunate situation, and I feel bad for both parties involved.
I do too. And yet I think I should state in conclusion that his wife did tell the Seattle Times, in effect, he's a good man and this was way out of character for him. And that's all well and good, but we've heard that from victims of domestic violence before.
Correct.
So let's keep that all in some perspective.
Yes, they're going through something because some papers were reporting his ex-wife, and she clarified that. Me and Richard and I are still married. So there's some things that, you know, they're going to have to work through. They're going to have to resolve, Skip. Yeah. And I think that's a family issue, that side of it. But unfortunately, there's some things that transpired that became public and lead you and I and others to have to discuss the public aspect. I'll let Richard and his wife deal with whatever they need to deal with. Yep. But in his current situation, Skip, because he is a professional football player and we discuss topics when it involves professional athletes, I think this is something that you and we had to touch on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And she did reiterate, you know, no one was injured. So that Sherman's hearing before the judge scheduled to take place today, we will be following this closely. No mercy. Well, Chris Paul had a night he'd like to forget in the Suns' loss to the Bucks. CP3 only scored 10 points on 5 of 13 shooting, but he also had 5 uncharacteristic turnovers, including one in the final 30 seconds that let Milwaukee take a 4-point lead they would never give back. Afterward, Paul accepted responsibility for the loss, saying his play was full of, quote, bad decision-making. Shannon, I know you tweeted about how frustrated you were last night about this. How much do you trust Chris Paul going forward?
Well, Skip, it's like his play is getting worse as the games go along. We look at how well he played in games 1 and 2. And if you look at the series, Skip, the Lakers, he played 6 games, he had 9 turnovers. Against the Nuggets, he had 5 turnovers in 4 games. Against the Clippers, he had 8 turnovers. Against the Bucks, now he has 17 turnovers in 4 games. So you can see the turnovers are starting to arise. Now, a lot of that has to do with Jrue Holiday. Holiday ain't waiting till half court to pick his butt up. He's picking him up. He's making him fight to get the ball in bounds. And he's picking him up. He's guarding him 94 feet. And maybe that's wearing him down. Maybe you need to let Book bring the ball up. Maybe you need to let Crowder or you let Bridges, someone else other than CP3, so he's not getting hounded all night long. But whatever the Bucks are doing is working because Chris Paul has not looked like himself since Game 2. Game 3, and it's gotten worse. Game 3, he was bad. Game 4, he was even worse. So in order for them to win, Skip, he's going to have to play better. I hate that he played so bad last night and it wasted a virtuoso by Devin Booker. Because Devin Booker was sensational, Skip. Had 18 points in the third quarter on 7 of 7 shooting. It seemed like every time he rose, I was like, that's good. Count that one, bro. And he was sensational. And as great as he was, Chris Paul was equally as bad. So for me, Skip, I still believe in him. But the point guard was just, oh my God, last night. Because every time he got the ball, like, oh my God, what is he going to do now? It's like he couldn't stay on his feet. He couldn't hold on to the ball. It was almost like, Skip, you remember the series against the Lakers? He couldn't hold on to the ball. He was slipping all over the place. And I'm like, what's going on, Chris? But he's going to have to fix that. The Bucks were right for the taking. I still believe the Suns are going to win this series because of the very reasons that we've been discussing. They play dumb basketball. They refuse to go inside on a consistent basis, and they jack up threes. Now, Monty said they've outworked us the last 2 games. I'm going to see if what he's saying is resonating in that locker room. Because right now, I can only count on 2 guys, really 2 guys. I can count on Crowder, and I can count on Book. Because Ayton got in foul trouble. I need more from you, Ayton. I need more than 6 points. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You had a couple of lapses on the defensive end. You let Connington get in and get a rebound. You let Brook Lopez go over your back and get a tip in on a missed free throw. I can live with the 8, but you gave me 17. You're averaging 16, 17 rebounds a game. But I need more on the offensive end. And Chris Paul, bruh, there ain't no guarantees you're going to get back. I know you got a young team and Book is up and coming and Ayton, but ain't no guarantees, bruh. You better seize this moment.
Nope. So you've been saying all show Phoenix played dumb basketball last night, but you've also made the case that Milwaukee in stretches plays dumb basketball. So this whole series has degenerated to me. It's become wildly exciting for all the wrong reasons, but it's almost like we've got Dumb and Dumber going on here, right?
Yes.
Because they try to out-dumb each other.
Correct.
Shannon, what tore me apart at the end of the game last night was that same guy I was watching, who I think is named Chris Paul. I think that's Chris Paul. That same guy scored 27 points down the stretch against my Clippers in Game 6 at Staples to close them out. He scored 27 in the last 2 minutes of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So in just that short a time, that guy scored 27 closeout points. It was the greatest game of his career, regular season, postseason, whatever. Greatest game of his career. And he bookended it last night, speaking of book, with the worst game of his career. And it was so bad that, to your point, I got it against the Lakers because, remember, he banged up his shoulder.
Right.
And Monty didn't even want him to go. And he kept saying, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. And he'd get out there, and he just looked overmatched because he couldn't hang on to the basketball with his right hand because his right shoulder was so banged up. And if you look at his scoring against the Lakers in those 6 games, 7 points, 6 points, 7, 18, 9, and 8. So he never really, except for the 18, ever really got it going. But it seemed like he bounced back from his shoulder because against Denver, he started to cook a little bit. He had a 21, 17, 27. And then remember the closeout against Denver.
37.
As they swept 37 points from Chris Paul at age 36, ending his 16th season. And then he got stronger and stronger against the Clippers. Remember, he missed the first 2 games with COVID, so what a roller coaster ride it's been for him. But he goes 15, 18, 22, and then, boom, 41. How do we go from that into an opening salvo against Milwaukee of 32 in Game 1?
Yes.
To your point, here are his scores by game after the 32. 23, 19, 10. Huh? What happened to Chris Paul? I don't know. Is he being haunted by the slightly torn ligament in his wrist? I think it's in his shooting wrist. That's what he said after Game 6 against the Clippers. To your point, he's got his left wrist wrapped. So I don't know what's going on. But it's hard for me to give him an injury pass when I saw with my own 2 eyes that he scored 41 against the Clippers in a closeout and 32 in Game 1 of these finals.
Right.
Okay, so, Shannon, I hate to bring up old news, but I got to remind everyone, if you look at Chris Paul's playoff legacy, it has as many potholes in it as Giannis's playoff legacy does.
Yeah.
He just does because they blew a 3-1 lead when he was in Houston, and twice he's blown 2-0 leads. And then once, the other time he got to the conference finals, obviously, they were up 3-2, and he pulled his hamstring. Okay, and they blew the 2 games to Golden State and didn't get to go to the NBA Finals. So we were all ecstatic for Chris that he finally broke through and got to an NBA Finals. And then that happened. And it's been happening over the last 3 games. And last night, it looked like he couldn't hang on to the basketball. And again, I'm with you. Holiday gets high marks for the pressure that he exerts on him. And maybe it wore Chris down a little bit. But this is Chris Paul we're talking about.
Yeah, this is the NBA Finals. Nobody want to hear about you wearing down. Nah, bro, you got to skip. And Milwaukee did everything they could to hand them the game. They tried to give you the game on a silver platter by jacking up all of these threes.
They did.
Giannis was not nearly as aggressive as he was in Games 3, in Games 2 and 3. And last night, I don't know what Giannis was doing, shooting threes. He know he's not a good three-point shooter. He's shooting like 20% from the 3, and he's taking threes. And when he get into the lane, he's shooting 65, 70%. So the game was right there for the taking. Chris, bruh, you are going to have to play better. Because I know you know, if you think the Milwaukee Bucks, because you've given them life, they want life support. Yeah. You breathe life back into them. You've done this single-handedly. Breathe life back into the Milwaukee Bucks. I still believe the Suns are going to win for the simple fact I know what the Bucks are going to do. They're going to come out and they're going to keep jacking up threes because they want to convince the world we can win games like we want to win games, not like how you want us to win games, which is go inside because nobody can stop Giannis. Nobody can stop Lopez if he gets down on the block because Giannis is being occupied by Ayton, but you're going to shoot the threes. So I still believe the Suns are going to win. But not if Chris Paul continues to play like this. They're not going to win.
So the CP3 roller coaster continues to roll. It goes way up here, and then it goes way down here, way back up here, and we keep talking about if he pulls this off in the finals, he's going to be ranked in the top 5 of all-time point guards.
No.
And yet, if he stays on this path, it's going to be a disaster. And people are going to lose a lot of respect for him nearing the end of his career.
Yes.
And Shannon, there are some nights I watch him, and he never was much of a leaper, but now on the three-point shots, he has to, like, struggle to get up there to release it.
Right.
And when he gets it in rhythm, when he finds a slot to release it, his vertical's like 4 inches off the ground. But when he gets a slot going and he gets his flow going, he can still shoot it. Like crazy, he can shoot it. And if he gets those mid-range places, he can shoot it. But last night, he was getting open shots. He just couldn't make them. And he made one in the middle of the fourth quarter, and it bounced all around the rim and fell in. It was a little bit lucky. And I don't think it gave him much newfound confidence.
Skip, if they were playing every other day, I could say, Skip, you know, he is 36. Holiday is hounding 94 feet. I can say, Skip, he might be wearing down. But, Skip, there are 48 hours between these games.
Yeah.
There is no reason that Chris Paul can't fully recover and play better than what he's playing currently. He's been awful the last 2 games. There's no way around it. This is not to take away anything that he's already accomplished.
Yeah.
See, sometimes, Skip, when you say a person that isn't playing good, but he's 11-time All-Star. He's been an All-NBA. We're not trying to take that away from him.
No.
But what does that have to do with the way he's playing currently? He's still an 11-time All-Star. He's still a 9-time All-NBA defensive player. He still was Rookie of the Year. All of that is still true. Also true, if he's played bad the last 2 games, the last game he was god-awful. That is true. That's factual. That's not to diminish what he's already done. We're talking about currently.
And by the way, it's not really 48 hours. It's 72 hours between, Sunday to Wednesday and Wednesday to Saturday.
Thank you. My bad. Who's my math teacher? So you're getting 3 days. So it's not like it was, Skip, in the first couple of rounds where you going every other day.
No.
So now you're getting 72 hours. After the first 2 games, you get 72 hours. So now they don't play again until Saturday. And then after Saturday, they don't play again until Tuesday.
No.
Nah, bro, you got to come on with this. This is the moment. What do you always say? You always hear athletes say, these are the moments that you dream of.
Yeah.
These are the moments that you waited your entire life to be a part of. Okay, you're a part of it. What you got for me?
Well, he owes his team a game from last night because he gave that one away.
He did.
Yeah.
He gagged that one off.
No mercy.
The Bucks even the NBA Finals at 2 games apiece after a wild comeback last night. Phoenix led by 9 in the fourth quarter, but saw the lead vanish thanks to Chris Middleton's clutch scoring and some big-time defense from Giannis. Devin Booker did drop a game-high 42 points for the Suns, but his foul trouble and Chris Paul's turnovers left the door open enough for the Bucks to get a 109-103 win. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joining us now. Chris, what is your biggest takeaway from last night and what you saw?
Yeah, and look, I know you guys just addressed this, but for me, what stood out most was the poor play of Chris Paul. And to his credit, he took ownership of it, but he was just bad. Chris, for the first time in a long time, he looked every bit of 36 years old last night. Yeah, he looked like that old guy trying to hang on, like the game was too fast or something. Giannis, who I don't know what you guys think. I think he played a great game, great floor game. I thought he made better decisions than the point guard. Because when they built the wall and Giannis was on the perimeter, he made great passes. He made the right plays. He hits Connaughton for a big 3 in the corner. He hit Drew Holiday for some big plays. And then when he was inside, he didn't force it, but he scored when he could in the paint. So I thought Giannis played a great floor game, but Chris Paul struggles because Booker got no help. We know Chris Middleton was great. Devin Booker was great. and Middleton got help. Giannis played a great game, and Jrue Holiday was good, at least defensively. But on the other side, Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton had 17 rebounds, but only 6 points. And Chris Paul had 10, but really 8 points, because his last layup with 2 seconds left was irrelevant. For him to have 5 turnovers, guys, we know that part of Chris Paul's claim to fame as an all-time great point guard is he hardly ever turns the ball over. Like, his assist-to-turnover ratio is tremendous. So for him to make 5 turnovers, Phoenix goes on and makes 17 as a team. That gave Milwaukee a huge edge, 24-5 in points off turnovers. It was a close game. That's a huge difference right there. And the scary thing for Suns fans is that Chris now has 15 turnovers in the last 3 games. That's more than he had in the previous 2 series against the Clippers and the Nuggets combined. So is he wearing down or what? The last turnover with 32 seconds left, to me, that looked like a turnover of stress and pressure. Like that Jrue Holiday played great defense all game. But Chris Paul's seen all the best perimeter defenders in the league over the last 15 years. So I'm not buying that Jrue just was too much for him. But on that last play, Chris just stumbled, lost his balance, and then lost the ball. Like right here, nobody's touching. He just stumbles. That looked like stress to me, pressure. Like what? He doesn't do that. And I hate to say this, but it reminded me of going back to 2014, Oklahoma City versus the Clippers. The series tied 2 games apiece. Clippers are up 7 with 45 seconds left. Game's over. And Chris makes 2 big turnovers in the last, 12 seconds, 14 seconds, and fouls Russell Westbrook on a 3-pointer, and Westbrook hits all 3 free throws, and Oklahoma City wins that game and goes on to win the series. That was a meltdown for Chris Paul. And it wasn't as bad, but that's what it brought to my mind it looked like a moment meltdown to me. Look, I think he'll bounce back. He better. Because one of the storylines going in to me was this is Chris's redemption. Because we all know about some of the failures in the playoffs that he's had, even if it's just injuries. But this was a chance to put all that in the back burner, and now we're highlighting your championship. Now, if he continues to play poorly and they lose this series, then his playoff struggles will be a big part of his story as we look back at his legacy.
Yeah, Chris Paul was god-awful. But when you look at there's no reason the Suns should have lost this game. They shot 11 percentage points higher from the field than the Bucks. The Bucks winning the game, that's the 5th worst margin percentage-wise from the field, the minus 11 of a winning team in NBA history. That's the 5th. But let me tell you how you do that. You get 17 offensive rebounds, and you let the other team get 5. You outshoot them from the free throw line plus 10. And when you do things like that in turnovers, you force the other team to 17, and you commit 5. That's how you win. And when you got the guy that wants the ball in his hand, he must have the ball in his hand. It's almost like he's like, what am I going to do if I don't have the ball? He demands the ball, and he's giving it back. What it looked like to me, it didn't look like it was stress. He looked like he was old. Skip, you will remember this. I don't remember it, but I saw footage of Willie Mays stumbling in the outfield. That's what that looked like with Chris Paul right there. There was nobody around him. He didn't get tripped. He had already beat Holiday. When he stumbles and loses the ball, Holiday just reaches in and like, thank you, grabs it and takes off the other way. You can't play like this. The Bucks come out, jacking up threes, Chris. This is why I believe they're still going to lose the series. Instead of getting inside to Giannis, instead of getting inside to Brook Lopez, how do they start the game off, Chris? 3 after 3 after 3. Yep. Giannis missed 2 free throws. He comes down, shoots another 2 threes, misses badly. Chris Paul is turning the ball over. So what could have been an 8, 10, 12-point ball game, Chris Paul turns the ball over, lets them stay in it, and then they get offensive rebound. Coddington has 3 offensive rebounds. Porters, Tucker, you got to keep them off the glass. It's not good enough to force them to miss if you're going to let them get the ball and put it back in the hoop. But this game was for the taking. The Suns should feel good going back home with a commanding 3-1 lead. And don't let anybody fool you. Now they're doubting themselves because they had an opportunity to put a stranglehold on this. They can say all they want to. Oh, we feel good. We have home court. Yeah. But the other team has the best player in this series, in Giannis, and he can win a game. You better win Game 5. Because if you don't win Game 5, you'll never come back to see a Game 7 in Phoenix.
So my perspective is I'm getting worn out on this show from talking about this game because it's excruciating to talk about. It's more painful by the topic to talk about the disaster this game was for a Suns team that is better than the Bucks. The Phoenix Suns are a little better than the Bucks, but they haven't consistently played better than the Bucks, especially last night. But I'm going to remind everybody that even though Chris, who's become a huge Giannis fan on this show, says he played great last night, everybody was saying he's going to go for 40 for a third straight game. He scored 26. So you did what you needed to do without building a wall. DeAndre Ayton was credible against him. DeAndre Ayton at least made him work for his points. And nobody hustles harder than Giannis. But most of his points last night were just hustle bunnies. He gets more hustle bunnies than any player I've ever watched. But so many of them were off offensive rebounds, or I'm just going to out-scrap you for this. I'm going to tip it in. I'm going to lay it in off the glass. But overall, Ayton did not a good job, but a great job of containing and controlling Giannis. He didn't go crazy on them. He did not take that game over because that game was there for the taking. Phoenix was up 9 early in the fourth quarter, and then they were still up 5 with 5:30 left. And they gave up a 19-8 run to end the game that is mind-blowing to me. And obviously, it featured the Chris Paul turnovers, and we've beaten those to death. Not only with 32 seconds left did he turn it over, he palmed it. Outrageous palm they should have called, because there are certain things you can get away with. He actually scooped up the ball with his left hand and then turned it completely over to get it to his right and couldn't control it and lost it on an unforced error. He just lost the handle on the basketball with a chance to feed Devin Booker, who obviously had the hottest hand on the floor, to tie the game at that point with 32 seconds left. I thought they were going to tie it. I thought they were going to win it. I predicted yesterday they would steal Game 4 and that Devin Booker would hit the last-second jump shot to win it. And I thought they were in perfect position to pull that off until Chris's turnover. And both of his fourth-quarter turnovers led to quick runouts and easy baskets at the other end. Well, to Shannon's point, if you're going to give up 17 offensive rebounds and 17 turnovers, well, on the road, you're going to lose. But now I'm back to Devin Booker. I love this kid. I've said he's going to win an MVP before he's finished in this league. And yet, what is he thinking? He's it last night. They're going to sink or swim on Devin Booker. And what does he do with 10:50 left? If we could see this, he's got 4 fouls, and he dares to try to just ram Tuck out of bounds to block him out, to keep him from getting another offensive rebound. You can't do that with 4 fouls when you're it. You're the only guy who's going to save the day for the Phoenix Suns. And he got an obvious 5th foul. And he has to go sit for 5 minutes. I thought Monty sat him for too long, but he set him for 5, and they still were clean to a small lead when he came back in. And then what does he do again with 3:41 left? He tries to wrap up Holiday on a drive shot, and it's a blatant 6th foul. It's just like, It's like, did he think he only had 2 fouls at that point, and I got one to give here? I'm going to do it. I'm just going to take a foul here to send him to the free throw line? Well, obviously, the ref said after the game they missed that one, and they missed it badly. They thought he got all ball, and he got all arms. And so at that point, with 3:41 left, Phoenix didn't deserve to win the game. He should have been gone, and their whole chances should have been gone anyway.
The NBA.
Yeah, what's that?
The NBA is really happy the Bucks won this game.
Yeah, I agree.
Can you imagine the outcry, Chris Broussard? If Booker commits that
Absolutely.
and they don't call it and they go on and win the ball game? Ooh, but he left.
No doubt.
It ended up going the way it should have.
Yeah, it did. Phoenix did not deserve to win the game.
Go ahead, Chris.
And that's why, people wonder, well, who had the better game, Devin Booker or Chris Middleton? And think about it, guys. We just talked for 10 minutes about the game. We have yet to mention Chris Middleton, who scored 40 points.
40 points.
Chris Middleton, if his game had more pizzazz, if his personality had more pizzazz, he was more in your face, more outgoing, I think we'd be talking about him in a whole different
Absolutely.
light. I'm not saying he'd be a superstar, right? But he is inconsistent. He's probably too inconsistent to really be considered a superstar. But we'd certainly be considering him a big star, and he'd be a perennial all-star. Like every year he's got to make the team no matter what. And maybe that'll happen going forward, especially if they win the series. But this dude is legit. And maybe his understated personality, maybe that's the perfect sidekick for Giannis.
Yes.
Because that allows Giannis to have all the, Giannis is the man. He's the superstar. And even if Chris is the closer, and like last night, he scores 10 straight points in the last 2 minutes.
He did.
There's no battle. Oh, is this Middleton's team? Is he?
No.
We understand. Skip might disagree, but we understand it's Giannis's team.
Yes.
And so maybe
Giannis
that's
is
a
team.
perfect fit for those guys.
And Giannis is the best player, but Giannis does a great job. If Giannis needs to get him to the fourth quarter, because come fourth quarter, that's Chris Middleton time. I look at Chris Middleton like chicken breast. He's great. But I'm not going to a 5-star restaurant and ordering it. I'm getting something with a little bit more pizzazz if I go out to a nice restaurant. Chris Middleton is chicken breast. He's really good, but I ain't ordered him when I go out to eat with somebody.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
I eat chicken breast every single meal, so I guess I'm boring.
Skip. But you're at home. You ain't going to no nice restaurant and order chicken breast. Ernestine's not going to let you do. No, Ernestine's not going to let you do that.
She might not. But hey, back to Chris's point about Chris Middleton. We don't mention him because he's not even discussable. He's just so boring. He's more boring than I am. What's there to talk about? I don't know. But he's great. He's their closer.
We saw him in Game 7.
Yeah.
We saw him when Giannis was out, and he had that 20-point quarter or 23-point quarter. He is the closer. Giannis gets him to the fourth. 5 minutes to go in the ball game. If Giannis doesn't touch it anymore, I'm fine with that. Let Chris Middleton do his work from there.
Well, he wasn't boring last night. We could say that. Skip, you're not boring. Chicken breast, though, a little bit boring for every meal, I have to say. I would get sick of that.
No mercy.
Giannis's biggest contribution in last night's win came at the defensive end, with the Bucks clinging to a 2-point lead with just over a minute to play. The Greek Freak blocked a DeAndre Ayton alley-oop attempt that would have tied the game. Whoa, let's watch that again. Afterwards, his teammate Pat Connaughton didn't mince words, saying, quote, "It's the best block of all time." Obviously, we're a little biased, and you could talk about the LeBron block as well. But as far as a block where he was covering the pick and roll, it's about as impressive as you can get. Chris Broussard still with us. Chris, please rate this block on a scale of 1 to 10. What'd you think of it?
Well, Connaughton went a little bit too far. I would say it's the second best block in NBA Finals history, of course, after LeBron's. LeBron's, I'm giving a 10. Giannis's, I'm giving a 9. I think everything that makes Giannis great was on display on that play. Skip just said it last segment. He's a hustler, right? He gets all types of hustle plays. Giannis even described this after the game as a hustle play. Like, he didn't give up on the play when a lot of people would have. And he ends up making a huge defensive block. Also, his intelligence. So he said at post-game, he says, I saw the play coming, because he's kind of stopping Devin Booker from getting to the hole. And Booker, he said, once Booker goes, puts it in his hand, he knows he's passing it because he's too far away from the basket for a layup. So now he understands I'm too far gone. So he sees it coming. So his intelligence was on display. And then, guys, he says, I knew I was too far gone, so I couldn't block the ball. I couldn't go at the ball. So I just jumped to put my hand in front of the rim. I mean, that's a lot of thinking going on in that split second. So that's his intelligence is on display. His agility and athleticism and length is on display, because most guys in the league, they can't get to that spot. They can't go from stopping the driver to protecting the rim in one motion like Giannis did, and then his strength. Remember, look, Ayton's going up with two hands. Giannis is going up with one, and he stops Ayton from dunking the ball with the one hand. A lot of times a guy might have enough strength to still dunk it over you. Through. If Giannis had just been able to commit a foul, that would have been a good play. Like, if he fouls him and he doesn't make the basket, because Ayton's a 69% free throw shooter in these playoffs, that would have been a good play. They were up 2. But for him to be able to block it, man, tremendous. And I just love it. I think it shows a lot of guys, they scored 40 points the first 2 games or the last 2 games, and people are talking about, can they do it again like Michael Jordan? He wasn't having that type of night, but he wasn't all in his feelings. He wasn't focused on that end of the floor. He was focused on whatever it took to win the game, and that block was incredible. So I give it a 9.
Chris, I gave it a 10 for all the reasons that you mentioned, because he's playing the pick and roll. He was able to stop and force Devin Booker to pick up his dribble, throw the lob, and all in one motion. He drop step, turns, and faces and blocks DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is 7 foot tall. He's at least a foot over the basket. And so in one motion, I shut off the pick. I get to the roller, because Skip, if he's not there, if Giannis does not show, Booker's just going to get all the way to the rim, or he's going to shoot that little 10-footer. But because he sees Giannis, and he knows, well, Giannis is supposed to be on DeAndre Ayton, there's no possible way he can get back and defend this lob dunk I got for him. He throws it, and Giannis drop steps and goes and sees, like, I got to go right now, and he blocks it. I believe the only other guy that possibly could have made that play is Anthony Davis, because he's extremely long. He does a great job of playing the pick and roll, and he's a great rim protector. But Jokic is not making that play. Joel Embiid is not making that play. None of the other bigs are making that play until I see, I'm sure there's some footage if we were to go back through the archives and look at all AD's games. But I know Giannis can make it, because I just saw it with my own 2 eyes. And I was upset, Chris, because they wouldn't replay it. He fouled him. He had to have fouled him. There's no way you're blocking a 7-foot lob dunk without fouling him. And he didn't. So I gave him a 10, and you can't convince me otherwise, Skip Bayless.
You know, you guys, you amuse me. I'm highly entertained by both of you overreacting to what we saw last night. And I have just one quick question for my man, Chris Broussard. Do you have some Greek back in your heritage I'm not aware of? Because I don't know, you become Giannis's biggest fan. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
He ate Greek yogurt this morning.
I love the way he played last night.
Okay. I'm going to give this, on a scale of 1 to 10, the block. I'm going to give it a 4. I was going to give it a 3, but just because it was so timely, and you can argue so clutch, that it did, quote-unquote, save the game, at least for a moment. Who knows what would have happened the rest of the game, the way it was going. But I'll go up to a 4, because on just pure execution, it's completely predictable. It's obvious. It's a duh. It's, for Giannis, a very easy block to to pull off because of the way the play unfolded. So he's showing a little bit on Devin Booker, but he's not going to be able to block Book's shot. If Book just said, I got this, I'm going to go up strong and I'm going to shoot a 9-foot jump shot, Giannis is not going to get there to block it, but he showed a little bit. But then, to his credit, he's just watching Book's eyes, and Devin looks across the lane and locks eyes with DeAndre Ayton, obviously Giannis's man, and completely telegraphs the lob. And not only does he telegraph it, because he's no CP3, but he throws a poor lob way too far and way too high for DeAndre Ayton, who then has to bend backward to catch it, loses all his momentum and all of his leverage. So if you look again, he's leaning backward when he catches the ball at its apex, when he high points it, and it gives Giannis plenty of time to catch up and explode, running with a running start up into the basketball and meet him at the apex. All the leverage, all the momentum belongs to Giannis at that point because he's got basketball in his sights. And he times it perfectly where he's arriving just as Ayton is getting both hands on the basketball, bending backward. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to be as easy a block as Giannis ever had because Ayton is dead to rights. There's nowhere to go with the basketball except right into Giannis's right hand. If he'd had the wherewithal, if he'd had the perspective, maybe Ayton would have given up on the lob dunk, and maybe he would have just said, whoops, I got to spin out of this and go back to the floor because Giannis would have just run right past him, and then he could have gone back up and dunked it. But that's a lot to ask of a still very young DeAndre Ayton, so I'm not going there. But the point was, it was a great hustle play, as Giannis said after the game. It was just a hustle play. Once he saw the telegraph lob pass, he just turns and he bolts across the lane, and all the advantage belongs to Giannis. He's got a running start. He's as explosive a 6', 11-inch leaper as we have in the league. So it's a really easy block for him because he can out-jump DeAndre Ayton, who's stuck with an awkward lob pass. And he did what he should have done, what he predictably did do. He blocked it. And the world is saying that's the greatest block ever. Stop it.
Skip, how many guys you believe can go meet another guy at the top, at the top? How many guys?
Where?
At the top of the square.
Well, he did that, but for him, that's an easy block to me.
But that's my thing, though.
Given the equipment he has that he was blessed with, yeah, that's an easy block.
But here's the thing, Skip. He has to force Devin Booker to pick up his dribble and not to take the jumper. So he has to show enough. So Book feels that he's going to challenge me on the jump shot and I can't get to the rim. So he has to do that. And then all in one motion, when Book throws the lob, he has to drop step and turn immediately. He's just going to a point. He might not be there, but he has to go to that point and meet him. He's like, oh, because DeAndre Ayton was headed to the penthouse. But little did he know that Giannis has a penthouse on top of his penthouse and pushed the button and sent him back down.
Ayton was headed to the penthouse with a great lob, but it was off target, long and high. If the lob had been at the rim, we might have had a collision at the rim, and at least Ayton would have been going to the free throw line. But this way, he's bending backward. He's at a complete disadvantage here. It was complete advantage, Giannis, and to his credit, he went ahead and executed the predictable block.
No, but Skip, the pass wasn't perfect, but it wasn't horrible either. Ayton would have finished that play if he was alone or if just about any other player in the league was there. Correct. He would have finished that play. So that's not what stopped him from making it. It was Giannis. And like Shannon said, he met him at the top of the square. So everything you described, you act like that's simple to do. That's like saying, what's the big deal about Usain Bolt? All he does is run. Well, he does it faster than everybody else. I mean, Giannis, maybe, as Shannon said, maybe Anthony Davis could have made that play.
Okay?
Maybe.
I'm going to
But
show
that's
this
an
one more time for
incredible
Chris's
play.
edification. Last year against Denver in the bubble, I want to show you a Kawhi Leonard block. This is a man's block. This is where you go straight up at the rim with the wrong hand, left-handed, on Jamal Murray, who has a full head of steam and tries to throw it right down your throat. And Kawhi blocks it with the middle finger of his left hand. Well, it's all advantage Jamal at that point. He's got the running start. He's got all the momentum. He's got the force behind him. And Kawhi just goes flat-footed, straight up, and blocked it. That's a great block to me. That's hard. That's high degree of difficulty.
And guess what, Chris? I just looked it up. They list Jamal Murray's height at 6'3", which means he's actually 6'2", trying to dump on a 6'7". Skip, I just looked it up.
Oh, stop it.
I just looked it up.
Okay, Kawhi might be 6'6".
That's the thing, Skip.
Oh, my God. Not Kawhi.
This is 7-footer. Giannis was 7-footer on 7-footer.
Yes.
Yes, a nice block. It's a great block by Kawhi. But come on, he's blocking a two-guard who's really the
doing
size
it
of a point guard.
He doesn't have a running start like Giannis did last night.
Giannis wasn't running. He took a step.
No, he launched.
Took a step.
One step. He dropped. Look at this, Skip. He dropped steps and goes straight up.
Okay, that's what he does. We know he can jump out of the gym at 6'11". But by the way,
He didn't have time to
I have to correct Chris on one other thing. He's saying that LeBron's block in 2015 was a 10. I mean, J.R. Smith deserves 5 of it then, so it must be 5 and 5 because J.R. Smith cuts off Iguodala at the pass, runs underneath him, and slows him up where he has to double clutch and lay it up off the glass instead of dunking it, and LeBron has time to catch up and chase down and blindside block it, sneak attack. Is that a great block to you?
Yes, because he went up with both hands.
Here's the thing, Skip. Yep, and you know that if the ball hits the backboard first, it's goaltending, right? If it hit the backboard before LeBron blocked it, it would have been goaltending. What LeBron have, an inch? A centimeter? What? But I mean, the timing on that was spectacular.
Oh, God.
Come on.
It was lucky.
Game 7. They had to score. Nobody can score the basketball.
Yeah.
And the first team to score is the team that's going to win.
Oh.
And LeBron says, not on my watch.
Well, wait a
not
second.
on my watch.
I thought Kyrie Irving hit the last shot to win that game. Right?
That's what I said. The first team to score. The first team to score was going to be the team that win. And Iggy had the first opportunity. And LeBron says, not on my watch. Okay. They call him the watchman because he sees all.
Yeah,
that's what they call him.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
No mercy.
Tonight on FS1, the U.S. men's national team looks to take control of group stage play with a second straight win as they battle Martinique in the Gold Cup. It all kicks off tonight at 9:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Well, despite some public appearances at various golf outings in the past 10 days, Aaron Rodgers has remained quiet about his plans to return to Green Bay. And now Adam Schefter has put a warning out to Packer fans who are still hoping the QB shows up for training camp on July 28th. On his podcast, Schefter said, quote, "The one thing I feel very comfortable and confident in saying is Aaron Rodgers does not want to play there anymore." Shannon, do you believe he'll never play for the Packers again?
I know Adam Schefter very well, and if Adam Schefter is reporting on something, he's getting it from very good authority. Actually, we got to Denver at the same year, Skip, in 1990. We were very good friends. Adam and I used to go out to eat a lot. We used to go to dinners a lot and eat and converse, even though I didn't divulge any information, if you can believe that. But anyway, Skip, I will say this. It seems to me that Aaron Rodgers is hell-bent on not playing for the Packers. Now, the Packers seem to be hell-bent on holding him there. You either play for us or you play for no one. And this is because what they're trying to do, they're trying to have it both ways. Aaron will acquiesce. We will trade you, but only after next year. Aaron Rodgers says, hell nah. If y'all want me to play this year, give me money, give me guaranteed money, and then you can trade me next year. But I'm not coming back and playing under these numbers with no assurance, because he's looking at Skip, I don't have anything to lose. I got nothing to lose. And Adam also said on the podcast, Skip, is that Tom Brady is the envy of a lot of guys. because they saw Tom Brady move from one location after 20 years, have no say, and then have a say in every decision that they made moving forward. Oh, you want Antonio Brown? Sure. You want us to get Gronk? Sure. You want us to take a right tackle? Sure. You want a Shady McCoy? Sure. Aaron Rodgers says, I tell you not to cut this guy, and you cut him anyway. I say I want that guy, and you don't bring him in. So Aaron Rodgers says, well, I need to go somewhere where they're going to give me a little say. Peyton Manning started this, Skip, because Peyton Manning came to Denver. He says, well, this is kind of what I need. This is where I am in my career. John Elway said, I'd be foolish not to listen to this man, all that knowledge he got in his head. John Fox said, you want your offense? Sure. You want us to get George Dreesen? Sure. Oh, you want Wes Welker? Sure. Aaron Rodgers says, I see all these other guys getting this, and here I am giving you 16 years, and you give me nothing. Aaron Rodgers, we got it. Whatever you need, whatever you want in Denver, we got that for you, bro.
So I also know Adam Schefter. I have nothing but the highest regard for Adam Schefter, and your attempts to wine and dine him as a young reporter covering your team so that you could buy insurance from him and favorable treatment were futile, because there's no way that Adam would stoop to any of that. So I want to make that very clear. Now, back to Jenny's question. I still have a gut feeling, a sneaking suspicion. I could be wrong about this, but I'm going with my instincts here.
What percent?
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
My sneaking suspicion is that this is still Aaron Rodgers' attempt, his agent's attempt, his camp's attempt to leverage the Packers into committing a big new 3-year deal to him that will be so massive that they have to play. They have to commit to him, obviously, as their starting quarterback for the next 3, maybe even 4 seasons. Because I believe in his heart of hearts, he wants to finish in Green Bay. I could be wrong about that, but it still feels like Aaron's attempt at a power play to just steamroll Packers management, because he's become such a sympathetic figure, I don't know how, but a sympathetic figure in Packers Nation, that finally they will just cave in and say, tell us what you want, we'll give you anything.
Okay.
We'll give you a new 4-year deal at such a price that Jordan Love will be reduced to an afterthought. Where, you know, obviously if Aaron, I'm knocking on wood for Aaron, if Aaron would stay healthy for 4 years, excuse me, he would be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers until he reached age, 40, 41, and then he would fade into the sunset by his own accord, by his own decision. That's what it feels like to me. Again, Adam is indicating he just flat out wants out, and he could be right about that.
Yeah.
But to me, it feels like Packers management has dug in so deeply that they're saying, hey, if you don't want to come to training camp, fine. If you don't want to be there on opening day, that's fine too, because we got a kid that we do like a lot. And obviously they're saying we won't be quite as good without you, Aaron, but we'll still be pretty good. I believe they think they can be a playoff team with Jordan Love. So here we go. The stalemate is beginning, and I'm not sure that Aaron's going to win this one. Go ahead.
The thing is, Skip, Mark Murphy, the Packers, and the organization, the thing was Coach Belichick did not want to give Tom Brady any control. So he's like, look, this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to draft who I want. I'm going to sign who I want, and you're going to run the offense that I say you're going to run. Well, he's like, and Tom goes to Tampa, and that's why he says, what I've learned. Skip, what did Tom say? What I've learned in Tampa, there are many other ways to win.
Yep.
You don't have to be so strict, so archaic in your thought process. And Mark Murphy's like, well, we don't want to give up control. You see, Mark Murphy doesn't know what it's like to not have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, that's
He got
true.
Brett Favre, he got Aaron Rodgers, but he's about to find out. Okay, you want to have all that control. There's nothing worse than having control with nowhere to go.
Okay, but Shannon, they did go up in the draft, up into the first round, traded up to take this kid, Jordan Love. I don't know his game well. I didn't watch him, so I don't know. But by all indications, everything that I hear, they do like him, and they do think he's progressing quickly. Who's to say he's not a franchise quarterback?
Okay, that's my point. You make Skip. You make my point. You make my and Aaron Rodgers' point. He's your guy. Move on. Keep it moving. Okay, Skip. That's the side. Okay, you want the side girl? Go ahead on. Don't bother me. Leave me be. Let me go find me somebody that's gonna make me happy. The Broncos are making very happy. See what you trying to do? You don't want me to leave. You want to hold on to me and keep me from my true happiness, which is in Denver. That's what you're trying to do, you and Mark Murphy. But it's not going to work. We're not playing for you, Brian Gutekunst. Now run, tell that, and don't come back to my house. I changed my number, too, so you can't call me anymore.
By the way, the side girl is not the marrying kind. This is not a side girl.
Yes, she is. Yeah. Jordan Love is. Jordan Love the side. You don't know if she can do all the things that Aaron Rodgers can do.
Okay.
I know what Aaron can do.
Last quick point. The ESPN poll came out yesterday about wide receivers, that how do they rank in the NFL? And did you see who ranked far and away number one? Davante Adams. So don't tell me that Aaron doesn't have enough help in Green Bay. No, he's got by far the best receiver in the game right now.
I tell you what I'm willing to do. I'll bet you unlimited for the next 10 years, that if Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback in Green Bay next year, Davante Adams will not be the #1 ranked receiver. Now bet that.
I'm not going to bet on anything Green Bay because I don't like Green Bay. So I don't want to have to root for Davante Adams.
That feels like a dangerous bet, Shannon. Yes. Forever? Do forever? Okay.
Forever.
We're going to be following. No mercy. Giannis couldn't muster up another 40-point outing last night, but his efficient offense and hustle plays on defense played a big part in the Bucks' win. However, Chris Middleton picked up the scoring slack with his best performance of the finals, dropping 40 points himself as Milwaukee even up the series 2 games apiece. So, Shannon, who's more valuable to the Bucks in the playoffs, Giannis or Middleton?
Giannis. But Middleton is the clear-cut closer. Okay. Giannis is their best player. He's the MVP. You look at his numbers, he's averaging 32, 14 on 61% shooting, 5.5 assists a game, almost 2 steals a game, almost 2 blocks a game. He's their most valuable player. But, Skip, if you look at big moments when they need it, I'm looking at this. Chris Middleton has made 15 game-tying or go-ahead shots in the fourth quarter or overtime. That's tied with LeBron James the most in the last 25 seasons. He's sensational. That's why, Skip, that's why I'm saying in the fourth quarter or the ball game's on the line, I want the ball in his hands because he can go get his own shot. He's a great free throw shooter. He can get to the mid-range. But because Giannis is basically an in-the-paint player, I can build a wall to keep him out of there. How do I keep Middleton from getting to his spot? Well, they tried, and they couldn't. He had 14 points. So I won't say Middleton is not important, Skip, but he's not as valuable to this team as Giannis is. He's the closer, the unquestioned closer, but he's not nearly as valuable.
Not sure I can swallow that logic. Look, I'm not sure I'd walk across the street to watch Chris Middleton play basketball. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, and I think that's a big part of his repertoire. That team loves him. He's easy to play with and live with because his ego is small. He's probably humble to a fault. But you just made a strong case. He's the closer, man. So I don't know what the definition is of how valuable the closer is. To me, the closer in playoff games is slightly more valuable than the best player. The best player is Giannis by far. No doubt, no disagreement about that. Maybe you'd say Giannis is the more important player because he's sort of the bedrock. He's the cornerstone of the franchise. You build upon Giannis's shoulders. But, man, without this guy closing, and you made the case, and I'm looking at fourth quarter free throw shooting through these playoffs.
It ain't even close.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's 24-27. That's 89%. And obviously, Giannis hadn't been terrible. He's 31 of 50. That's 62%. But the point is, even that game, remember, what was their pivotal turning point game? It was Game 7 at Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened in...
Middleton hit the shot.
In overtime, Giannis did hit a shot. He had a little one-hander, if we could see that, in the lane. That was with 1:12 left. He goes up on, guess who? the best player on the planet, little jump hook sort of shot, and it bounces all around the rim and luckily fell through. But that's the shot. That's the shot. That came with 40 seconds left. Chris Middleton shoots a little fadeaway in the lane, and there's Giannis, and then here's Chris Middleton. That's a hard shot, and he nailed it. And that was the ball game because nobody could score, and those two guys did score. Obviously, Kevin Durant hit the wall.
Skip, you know what it's like, Skip? It's like a starting pitcher and a closer. Mo Rivera is the greatest closer of all time, but if my starting pitcher does not do their job, I can't even get to Mo. If Giannis is not great for the first 3 quarters, I'm not going to get an opportunity for Chris Middleton to close the game. So that's why I said Giannis is more valuable because, you and I are in agreement. We want the ball in Chris Middleton's hand when the rubber needs to meet the road. But the value is, I don't believe the values are close. I believe Giannis is the better player. I believe he's the more valuable player.
No, I got you on that. But most starting pitchers in today's Major League Baseball can't close too. You know, they don't go 9 innings. So
no, pitcher shutouts.
Okay. So nothing will tear the heart out of a baseball team faster than a closer who can't close.
Right.
Nothing. If you start spitting the bit and giving up leads, a team will absolutely crater. Well, he's closing like crazy, and he closed again last night. And they go on a 19-8 run down the stretch, and he scored 10 of those points.
Yeah.
Giannis scored 2 of those points.
Right.
So he's the closer. He made all the big shots last night. In the fourth quarter, he made all the big free throws. I don't know. He's a pretty special player. I think he's becoming the most underrated, underpublicized player in the NBA, and I don't think it's even close.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Skip. Finish your thought.
No, well, I don't know what it is about him, but there's no edge to him, so there's no flair.
Right.
There's nothing spectacular.
Yes.
He's a very conventional jump shooter, and there's no showboating, there's no hot dogging, there's no trash talking, so you can't sort of get your arm around him.
Right.
He's just really good in the biggest moments. Now, again, he struggled on the road, but I don't know. He's pretty great.
But the thing is, Skip, is that he doesn't have Kyrie's handles.
No.
He doesn't shoot the 3 like Dame or Steph.
He does not.
He doesn't elevate and shoot the mid-range like KD.
Not a great athlete.
He's not a great passer. But like I said, that's why I said he's chicken breast. He's good. But nobody goes. When was the last time you heard somebody say, man, you know, I went to this restaurant. They had the best chicken breast I've ever had in my life. That's what happens when you watch Chris Middleton. Nobody says, that's the greatest, that's the best player I've seen in my life.
Nobody
because
says
he doesn't do anything spectacular.
Shannon,
but he's solid.
He can defend at a high level because he is committed to defending.
He doesn't get nearly the credit that he deserves as being a two-way player.
We've been talking a lot about chicken today on the show. A lot of these comparisons.
No mercy.
On Saturday, rivals collide as the Red Sox battle Aaron Judge and the Yankees, or the surprising Giants look to keep rolling as they take on the Cardinals, or Altuve and the Astros take on the White Sox. Saturday, 6:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Check local listings for the game in your area. Well, we were all over this. Lamar Jackson went viral earlier this week after a video surfaced of him playing defensive back and wide receiver on a basketball court with some kids. Lamar took some heat for his decision-making, especially as his new contract looms, but defended himself on Twitter saying this: it's better to have them kids out there having fun than playing with guns and stuff. So next year, we're running it back with even more fun. Shannon, what's your response to Lamar's response?
I think Lamar thought I was attacking him. I was giving him credit for being in the community, going back and letting the kids see that Lamar Jackson came from a very similar neighborhood, and they can get out just like Lamar did. Skip, you know, I talk about all the times that my brother going pro was the greatest thing for me because I saw somebody that lived in the very house, had the same upbringing, ate the food that I ate. He got out. Hell, I could get out too. I'm not criticizing, but you know what, Lamar Jackson, you're right. I should have kept my damn mouth shut, and I normally do. I don't normally volunteer information. Normally, athletes, especially football players, will reach out to me, or their representative will reach out to me and say, Shannon, can you talk to such and such? Do you mind reaching out to them? I reach out to said individual. We have a conversation. I say, now your representative have my number. You're welcome to get it and call me anytime. So you're right, Lamar Jackson. I shouldn't give a damn if you get in your car and drive 130 miles an hour. That's your life. That's your career. You're right, Lamar. I shouldn't care if you putting yourself at risk on a basketball court, running routes, which you are a quarterback, playing DB, which you are a quarterback. You're right, Lamar. It's my fault. I should have kept my mouth shut. Do you, bruh. Do you.
He said sarcastically. Okay. I appreciate what you just said. And obviously, when we talked about this a couple days back, I defended Lamar to a point because obviously he knows what those kids are thinking and feeling because he was one of those kids not too long ago.
Yes.
The problem with Lamar that I see from a distance is he's still got too much of those kids in him. He still hasn't grown all the way up to respect and appreciate the responsibility he has to his team as the face of the franchise, as a recent former MVP of this league, and a man standing on the precipice of signing, what, the biggest contract in the history of the sport? I think he will.
Close.
Some point soon, right?
Yeah.
And yet he's willing to risk that. At what price?
To keep it real.
Lamar?
Skip, okay. He want to keep it real. I'm keeping it real. I got to keep, here's the thing. Keep it real to your family. Keep it real to yourself. I'm not saying not go back and talk to the kids. No. Skip, I don't know if we still got that clip of Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald did the very same thing. He's at a camp, and he's talking to this like, well, where did you get those shoes from? He said, Nike. He was like, wow. He says, I want to be just like you one day. And Aaron Donald says, no. You're going to be better than me. Aaron Donald is doing the exact same thing Lamar Jackson is doing. He's talking to the kids. He's bringing positivity without putting himself at risk. But you go ahead, Lamar. You're right. I was out of line for trying to give you some advice that could potentially help you. Take a listen to this clip.
Yep.
Huh? The shoes? Yeah. They made them for me. Nike made them for me.
I'm gonna grow up where I'm becoming you.
You'll be better than me. Right?
Yeah.
He's doing the exact same thing Lamar Jackson is doing without putting himself at risk. Lamar, I'm not criticizing you for going back and talking to the kids. Guys used to do a lot of football camps. Everybody had camps back in the day, Skip. Now guys do maybe like it's golf tournaments or maybe it's softball tournaments. But that was a big thing when I first got into the league. Everybody had a football clinics, and they were put on for the youth. And we got out there and we gave the kids instruction. We spoke each guy. We had Reggie White in my brother's football camp, Brett Favre, Barry Sanders. They would all come and speak positive towards the kids. Let them know that there was something greater out there for them than where they were currently.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, Lamar. I'm not trying to criticize you for talking to the kids, bro.
And Shannon, Lamar didn't acknowledge he's on a basketball court in street clothes, in sort of street shoes or barefooted. At one point, he just took his shoes off. And he's playing DB, and then he's running routes as a receiver on the hard basketball court, on concrete. Well, it's Skip, dangerous.
I know he doesn't realize it, Skip, but you remember we used to play on artificial turf. Yeah. But they pulled it up because they said it was too dangerous. They pulled it up. So he's running routes on a basketball court. But that's not dangerous. Now, they pulled it up, the artificial turf for football players, because they said it's too dangerous and the injuries are occurring too regularly. But Lamar Jackson is out there playing positions that he does not play. He didn't want to play, and rightfully so.
I know.
But you know what? I should have kept my mouth shut, Skip. I keep my mouth shut moving forward.
No mercy. How about this, though? Pat Connaughton said his Bucks teammates were left in shock and awe after Giannis's huge block on DeAndre Ayton last night. A lot of people have compared it to LeBron's iconic block in the 2016 finals. So, Shannon, who had the better block?
I'm going to stick with LeBron because I believe Giannis had a game-changing block in Game 4. LeBron had a championship-changing block in Game 7. So because of the stakes were a little higher in the Game 7 and Game 4, I'm going to say LeBron. But Giannis' block was sensational.
Giannis' block is being overrated, but it's still better than LeBron's because let's be honest about this. LeBron's block back in 2016 was assisted and set up by J.R. Smith undercutting Iguodala. So, again, it's split. It was a bicycle built for two. In the end, at least Giannis went solo on his block.
But you told me that... But you told me Devin Booker telegraphed it from a mile away. You said that was a very routine block that anybody could have made it. So how difficult is it if Devin Booker telegraphed it and anybody could have made it?
That's how little respect I have for LeBron's block.
Boy.
That's why
I got to go. I'm done. See, I've got to go. I'm done talking to you for the day. I'm done talking to you for the day.
We will argue about LeBron's block forever. I can promise you that.
I'll see y'all
tomorrow. That's it for Undisputed. Skip Shannon. Great stuff. The Herd's on now. Have a good day.